Salute is a program for and about men and women who have served our country. Our program includes news about the laws that affect veterans, information on benefits and services, and news from veterans organizations. And now, our host, Bob Peters.
Hello and welcome to Salute. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and today we're in for a treat. We actually have two veterans who are a husband and wife team, Jim Corbet. I knew I'd mess it up. And Gloria. Nice to have you on the show. And let me start with, because you know, beauty before the beast. She outranked you anyway.
She's Mrs.
Yeah. So Gloria, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where did you come from? And you did how many years? You were in the Army, right?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan. Went into the service from there at 25. Spent 20 years in the service, and while I was in the service, met this fellow, and we got married after he retired, so he could come and be with me.
So tell me a little bit about your career in the Army. Where were you stationed? And
I went in to Fort McClellan, which was the WAC main base in 1965. They kept me there. I apparently was a good instructor, so they kept me there for a year, and I was teaching CBR, chemical, biological, and radiological warfare.
Wow.
But that's because my degree was in chemistry. So I thought I could use it other ways, but that was the way it got used, was there. Then when it was time to leave there, they said, "Where would you like to go?" And I said, "Oh gosh, Hawaii." And they sent me to Okinawa.
Yeah, that's close.
Close, yeah.
A lot of water.
Yeah. Turned out to be a lovely assignment, really nice. I was the CO of the WAC detachment there. My WAC detachment consisted of 6 people. Mine, 6 people. I had 180 or 90 other girls who were residents in the WAC detachment, but they belonged to the hospital, they belonged to the headquarters, and they belonged elsewhere. So of people that were mine, I had 5 girls and me. And I had enough buildings to put up close to 200 women. It was in a notch in the I don't know, I guess you could call them cliffs there. And when I got asked one time what would happen, it was about the time that Truman had died, and the girls were saying, "The Koreans are getting really active again. What are we going to do?" And I said, "Oh, no problem. Have you ever gone back into those cliffs?" And they said, "No." I said, "Well, they're full of caves. All we really need is a cave that will handle all of us. And then you can go in and be safe in there." And they said, "Well, who's going to watch us?" "Well, I'll just take my guns out and stay outside."
So I see you're a member in Eustis, the American Legion. Are you an officer there? Or?
Finance officer.
Finance officer? Oh, good for you. Good for you. And how about you there, fella?
Well, I've been around longer.
You've been around the bush a long time. We've got here at this World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, right? Mm-hmm. That's about, where were you born, Jim?
I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana, and spent a lot of time in Louisiana and Texas and Arkansas and all over working on ranches and farms all my younger days. And I went in the Marine Corps in in December of 42, the government put out an order that once you turned 18, you must go through your draft board. And at that time, I was working for the Army Air Corps down in San Antonio, Texas. And I made 3 round trips, 500 miles each way, to try to get my people to sign for me to go in the Marines. But they wouldn't do it. And so in December of 42, the government says, once you turn 18, you must sign for the draft and go through the draft. What was happening, they'd put out a draft call for 500 men from a big town, and by the time the call got there, half of them had enlisted and gone, and messed up their whole system. So they said, once you turn 18, you must go through your draft board, let them call you, and then go through them. Well, I'd already had everything ready to go in the Marines, except being sworn in. And so in December of 42, they passed the order that you had to go through the draft board. In January, I was 18 on the 28th of December of 42. So I turned around and went right in and reported to the draft board and volunteered for induction. In February I was called, in March I was on my way to California. Didn't take long. But I was what they called an SSV back then, Selective Service Volunteer. In fact, I've got a dog tag somewhere here that I'll show you if I can find it that had that on it. And they were brass dog tags. And we wore them for the first few years I was in. And you'd get overseas, especially in the Pacific, and sweat, and that brass dog tag would turn everything green.
Green, yeah.
But I enjoyed my career. I got commissioned in 1952. I was in the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. I had an anti-tank assault platoon, flamethrowers, rocket launchers, and demolitions, and mine clearance. The Army had scattered mines all over that place, and the Air Force had dropped Betty bombs, bouncing Betties they called them. No, not bouncing Betty, butterfly bombs. They were about the size of your fist, a little bit bigger, and they came out in one big shell, and they dropped, scattered out, and unwound and armed themselves. And they had 3 kinds of fuses. Had a point detonating that went off when it hit the ground. Had another one that anti-disturbance. If anybody touched it, it'd go off. And they had one that was time delay. So it'd lay on the ground for a day or so, and it'd explode. Well, a lot of them jammed on hitting the ground and everything. So you had to be real careful when you was clearing them, because if you made a noise or touched one of them or something, it would go off, maybe go off, what kind of fuse it had. And so we had to be real careful. And those and bouncing Betties in the minefields were all over the place. And the Chinese would come in at night and move them around on you, so you didn't know where they were. So we had quite a problem over there. And I trained 17 new men when I met the Black Watch. 42nd Royal Highlands Regiment. Hold this. The 42nd Royal Highlands Regiment, the Black Watch, was a Scottish outfit. And they were coming in on our right flank, and had no training whatsoever in this stuff.
Oh boy.
So I was up there training my people, and my sergeant turned to me and says, "Gunny, there's VIPs coming." And I looked up the trail, and here come my colonel, the sergeant major, and all the rest of them, you know. And this tall dude, about 6'6", with a tam o' shanter, the Red Rose of Sharon, a Webley pistol, and a walking cane you could have clubbed half the Army with. And it was Colonel Rose, the commanding officer. So he came in there, and he told me, he said, they just got there and they had no training in this stuff. So I sent my people out of there, and I put them through the course. And I told him, I says, there's 2 kinds of fields here, there's so forth. I says, and I'm not sure exactly where everything is right now. My sergeant took the last class through, and he changes and rearms stuff to keep me on my toes, because I don't want to get relaxed either. So we went through it, and as luck would have it, and I did set off a couple of smokes to show them what was there and the patterns and everything. So about 2/3 of the way through, Colonel Rose turned to his sergeant major, and he said, RSM, Regimental Sergeant Major, said, "This is exactly what I'm looking for." So then we scheduled for training for their people, and I put them through my course. And I've got some pictures somewhere. I don't know where I brought them with me, and I don't think I did. It was taken at the reviewed that November the 10th. They put on a parade for us at the 5th Marines parade ground there in Korea, and all the pipes and drums and everything. And I took some pictures there, and I got a book at home now that I bought after the war that the Marine Corps put out. It has identical pictures to some of theirs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It shows their pipes and drums and everything. So we got to be good friends, and they tied in on our right flank. And I went over and spent about 2 weeks with them. I took enough stuff to set them up a school and train their people. So my counterpart was a sergeant by the name of Williams. And we were going out on the first patrol after they had moved up on line. And I said, "Will," I says, "this is the first time your boys have been out on the point. Maybe I ought to get up there with them." And he leaned back and he says, Hell no. Says the bloody bastards have been to your school. We'll see if they've learned their bloody lessons. And away we went. That's the kind of guys they were fantastic people.
Yeah. But you originally were in during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go in World War II?
I was in Hawaii out there at Kaneohe for a while. Not Kaneohe, the Navy Air Station. And then we went from there to the Admiralties. No, we went to the Philippines on Mindoro. And then we made a landing there. And then from there, we went out, stayed there quite a while, and then we came back to the States. No, we went to the mop-up on the Solomons. Down in
Solomon Islands.
Solomon Islands, yeah. And that was our last time out there.
No, you went to Okinawa.
Well, we went into Okinawa, yeah, but it was after the battle. We didn't fight there. We crossed the Sukaran airfield and went up and split the island in half and trained up one end of it, and the other outfit went the other way. But I came back to the States and was put into an outfit at, what was the name of that air base? It was a Marine Air outfit at Goleta, California, Santa Barbara Naval Air Station.
Mm-hmm.
And every NCO in that detachment was some kind of clerk or bookworm or radio operator, technician of some type. And I was an acting corporal. I was holding the corporal's job, drawing the corporal's pay, but I was still a PFC. But I was wearing corporal chevrons, and when I reported in there on Thursday, first sergeant says, "What are you doing wearing corporal chevrons?" And I told him, I said, "Well, they were given to me in my last outfit. You'll see it in my record book." He says, "You're going on watch Monday morning on the guard. You have PFC chevrons on everything you own, including your skivvy drawers." I said, "Aye, sir." So I did. And this outfit, I had to teach the commander of the guard how to fold the national colors. That's how bad it was. And I couldn't take it. So I went ahead and got discharged. I told the first sergeant, I said, "I'll go down to Frisco and ship in." He said, "We'll have you back up here in 90 days. I said, "Okay, I'll go back to the East Coast and ship in. You can't get me there." So that's what I had in mind. And I got home on Christmas Eve of '45 and was turned 21 3 days later. And a good friend of mine had been with me in the reserves and everything, and a lieutenant who from both of them were on EWO, shot up pretty bad, both of them. And the guy was named Farmer, Chester V. Farmer. He became the I&I officer of our reserve unit. And they had all the World War II veterans listed, names there. And they were trying to find people to form these outfits. So we talked it all over, and I told them what I'd been through and what they were looking for. Well, my colonel on Okinawa had gone into Japan on the advance party after the big bomb went. And he says, "You don't know," before that, before the landing, everything. He says, "You don't want to know what was going to happen." Said they had 5 Marine divisions to go abreast on the beach on Iwo, or on Japan, going into Tokyo. And they said it would cost us 1 full division KIA and 2/3 of a division WIA to get on the beach. Well, guess where old Jim would have been? Right up in the middle of it. So I was glad to get out of that one. So I came back to the States and got discharged and everything, and came home on leave, came home, and they came to my house, and we were talking it all over. And he said, "If you'll help me form this reserve unit, I'll have those stripes back on your sleeve within 30 days. He said, I said, "Good enough." So I stayed there and helped form the reserve battalion in 2 companies in New Orleans and 1 in Shreveport. And we built an armory and all kinds of stuff there. And in 1950, we were at Little Creek, Virginia, training the reserves. This whole battalion was in there. And we had just come off the range that afternoon when they announced that the Koreans had jumped off and had come south in Korea. And so we held a formation, and Farmer told us, says, "You'll be called up as soon as we get home." will be mobilized, and some of you will go straight to California. And it happened that way. There was 3 things they told us not to take to California with us: automobiles, civilian clothes, and wives. We weren't going to be there long enough to use any of them. And that was a fact. A lot of us got back home, and the 1st of August we were in the Marine, called up, and the 1st of September we were in the Marine Corps, and by then a lot of them were already on the way to Korea. And the Marine Corps had nothing over there. There were no divisions on the ground anywhere. When they ordered O.P. Smith into Korea, 1 battalion was made up on the West Coast, 1 battalion made up on the East Coast to go in the 5th Marines. The 3rd battalion was not together in one place until after the Incheon landing. One company was on the Mediterranean aboard ship. They came across the Atlantic, through the canal, up the Pacific, and into Japan, and then over to Korea, and met the rest of the division after the Incheon landing. That's how scarce they were. They made up companies everywhere they could to get enough to go into Incheon, because they were scattered out so bad. And it's going to happen again.
How long were you over there in Korea?
I was over just about a year.
A year? Mm-hmm. And you have a picture there. What's that picture there?
This is me getting made second lieutenant.
Turn around so people can see it there.
This is taken in Colonel Parks in California, commissioned me. I was in the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines in Korea on line, and we held a formation that day, and our regimental commander, an old Raider, hung a bronze star on me for demolition detail I'd pulled. I blew up 20 bunkers at one time out there in the front of everything, raised a lot of cane, and we were in formation. He says, "Congratulations, Gunny. You'll be going home next week. You've been selected for second lieutenant." And so I came back to San Francisco, and that's the picture of me getting commissioned. And I went on to basic school and then served as an officer. And as a warrant and everything else, I've done a little everything.
Yeah. Well, you weren't done with, you did World War II, you did Korea, and you still weren't done, so you wound up in Vietnam, right?
Right. I was in maintenance back in those days, motor transport maintenance. And I had the maintenance company down in Da Nang. And I was over there 3 times. Well, the first time we went, the 1st Brigade was sent over there for the Tonkin Bay incident with the ship. And we didn't stay in there long, just long enough to get everything squared away and get out and go back to Hawaii. And then I came back out there as a warrant later and took over the maintenance company. And I met her on my 3rd trip.
Yeah, why don't you tell that? You were telling me that little story. Tell me that story, how you met your commanding officer.
Oh, well, we were in Sukaran, which is Army barracks and everything, and they had a small bore pistol range there, and 22s, and we used it for the Marines, and we had to furnish personnel. So it was either stand 4-hour watch as range safety officer or 24 OD on the guard. So this is a lot easier, 4 hours on the guard. So I'm in there, and I got an Army sergeant doing all the work, and he made lousy coffee. And so I'm sitting around there, and this young captain comes in over on the left end and lays a match condition 22 Smith & Wesson on up there and some ammunition, and she proceeded to get ready to shoot. So she was in dress-a uniform. She took off her hat, she took off her coat, she took off her high-heeled shoes, and took off her wig. I went down to see what's going to come off next, you know. I'm getting interested here. And she stepped up there and put 10 rounds in that 22, and 9 out of 10 were in the black. on the first string of shots. She had her, I think she had one jam. I cleared that, and I got to talking to her. And I says, have you had dinner yet? She says, no. I said, well, our officers' mess has the reputation of the best meals on this island. We were all warrant officers, and we had, that was steak night, and our steaks literally overlapped the platter.
Wow.
And they were delicious. So I say I won her heart through her stomach.
Oh, you saw a pistol packing mama and said that was for me, huh?
All right, we got married when she was at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. After she came back, she was teaching computers up there, and she retired in
'85.
'85, and we moved.
And all that time from when he retired to when I retired, he was my house spouse.
Yeah, I worked. I cooked breakfast, did everything. When we
trained him well.
Absolutely. Ask him what was my dishwasher for the first 7 years we were married.
We had a grand time, but where was we? We was running around. It was Fort. We was running around the base.
Oh, that was at RC. Well, no, McPherson.
Fort McPherson, yeah.
Has an outer perimeter of exactly 3 miles, and so
we would
everybody on base did the outer perimeter as their daily run.
Yeah.
We would get up and run that, and then she would shower and get in a uniform the day to go to duty, and I would get everything else done, fix breakfast and everything, and then after she had gone to duty, and she was working right there on post, she'd get on her moped and ride down there, and then I would do my house spouse work, dishes and so forth, and then at noon I'd get on my motorcycle and go by her office and pick her up, and we'd go around to this little kiosk behind the general headquarters up there, and they put out some fantastic salads, and we'd take half pints of a home canned tuna that I had caught and canned down off the eastern shore of Virginia. I was running a dive boat for a scuba club along about that time too. So anyway, we had generals coming over and asking us for some of that tuna. That's how good it was, and so we got along great up there.
He spoiled him.
Yeah.
See,
He's an amazing man. You're doing scuba, you're doing demolition, you're doing everything here.
Yeah.
You've had quite a career.
He also integrated 2 officers' wives clubs.
Yeah. I'm a member of the Officers' Wives Club twice.
They had to change their constitution and bylaw. Well, couldn't change the constitution. It's mandated by Congress, but they could change the bylaws so that instead of reading the wife of an officer, it now reads the spouse of an officer.
I've got a card in my bag over there that's signed by a general's wife where I was in one of them. I was the photographer for that club, and that irritated a lot of women. They'd come in for a meeting, and here's all these women in that wives club, and I'd be sitting over at the end of the counter with a camera, and I was up and out and into everything. And they resented the fact that there was a man in there till I showed my credentials. But we've had a grand time.
You have a couple of pictures you want to show us.
Well, the pictures that I have are of me and my unit. That was the tiniest lady I knew, and she was my first sergeant. Tough old bird, I'll tell you what. She kept the girls doing what they needed to be doing. And this other lady was one of the best cooks I ever had in my unit.
Was that at the chow hall there?
This was, they were doing a party, and so the cake was produced for the party. I think, I'm looking at the suit, I have the feeling I got married in that suit.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other picture, don't I wish I was this svelte again? My goodness, I'd love to do that. But that's me in 1976. You can tell that I wore wigs back then. And it worked.
Yeah.
Then I came to Florida. It's too hot down here. So I went back to hair.
We've had a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the military. I always did. And I can't think of a thing I did in the Corps that I would be resentful for today. Like when Colonel Walt, he had the 5th Marines back then. well, later, but he had the 1st Battalion at that time. And January of 52, 53, snow on the ground, hip deep to a tall Indian. And we 20 below zero some of the time, and we had a formation. And he pinned a bronze star on me for a demolition job I'd done, blown up 20 bunkers. And that was quite a show too. But he says, "Congratulations, Gunny. You've been selected for 2nd lieutenant. You're going stateside next week." And I did. But the group I went to basic school with was quite a crew. We were out of every line in the Marine Corps. We had tankers, we had pilots, we had everything in that group. And we had quite a show. And when we were in Fort Sill, going to artillery school, some of us were down there, and these guys were pilots, and they would go over and check out an aircraft. And we would get on the plane. No, this was in basic school when we was running troops over in the training area, and they would check out an aircraft, and if you were platoon commander or captain, company commander for that exercise, we would go up and fly aerial reconnaissance of a whole area and look at the back sides of the hills and everything, you know. So you're going through there and this instructor stops you and says, "Stop, you're drawing fire from that hill, so many men up, such weapons and so. What are you going to do?" "Well, I'm going to cut right back here to this road. I'm going to set up a base of fire across this road, and I'm going to send a platoon around behind that hill and let them come up the back side through those trees over there. You can't see any trees from where we are. All we can see is the front end of that hill." And he said, "How do you know there's trees back there?" "I flew aerial reconnaissance." Well, after about the 3rd time that we gave them that answer, they were ready to throw their hands up. We pulled some good ones.
So how many total years did you do?
26.
26? And you did 17.
No, I did 20.
20, oh, okay. Well, you know, I just got the signal, but before we go, let me have that picture here. I want you to show that sword, but we're running out of time.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh. Has my name on one side right there, J.A. Corbett, and on that side, United States Marines. Back when I was a permanent regular young officer, every officer had to have them. And we used them quite a bit for drill and so forth. But
well, when they say the few, the proud, and the brave, you're one of them, my friend. And I really hate to do this because we are out of time. So I want to thank you, Jim and Gloria, for coming and sharing your experiences, because I know you're also a Legionnaire. You're in the VVA. No?
I'm American Legion, VFW, Marine Corps League.
Yeah.
Many
hats.
Marine, the Mustangs?
Marine Corps Mustang Association.
Well, it was an honor having you guys here, and I got to say goodbye. So to all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you. Thank you for all you do. Until next time.
Let us know what you want us to present in our future programs. Please call Lakefront TV at 352-728-9707 with your programming ideas and suggestions.